Hello, everybody. Before we dive in, let me quickly frame the conversation that we're here to have today. The bottom line is this: to stay competitive, manufacturers need better, faster, automated data to thrive. My name is Neil Battarbee from the CAI software team, and I will be having a conversation today with Jeff Elam, a global operations systems manager from Hubbell Incorporated. Jeff will share his goals, his objectives, and outcomes of their digital journey. We will start by discussing the hidden factory, which is used by operations management to describe all of the unplanned, unnecessary, or non-value added activities that occur within an organization's processes. And then we'll move into the efforts of connecting your systems to provide valuable data to support continuous improvement activities. And we'll discuss how manufacturing execution systems, or MES, and connected worker solutions deliver on process execution controls to mitigate these hidden factory losses and improve the bottom line. We'll end the session with an interactive Q&A, as after all, the goal of these sessions are to engage the SAP Insider community and learn from others. A little bit of housekeeping. This is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. Please log your questions in the Zoom Q&A. We have disabled the chat feature, so please log questions in the Q&A feature, and we'll address them at the end of the session. So by way of introductions, I mentioned Jeff from Hubbell earlier, but Craig Powers is also partnering with us in this webinar. Craig is an analyst from SAP Insider, where he leads research on data analytics and artificial intelligence. Welcome, Craig.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Excited to share some of my research and how it fits in with this broader discussion. I'm curious, Neil, I know we've talked a lot about manufacturing and prepping for this, but what exactly is your background on manufacturing?
Sure. So I've worked in manufacturing most of my career, in the printing industry, capital equipment, and most recently, I find myself working with manufacturers to help them get the most out of their people, processes, and their machines, right? So CAI customers, through ShopVue, our MES, and our connected worker platform Possible, use those systems to collect good quality data and turn that data into action. And it drives them, right, to their, whatever their definition of factory of the future goals are. So as I noted earlier, Jeff Elam is from Hubbell Incorporated is joining us. Jeff manages the scoping and deployment of ShopVue as they deploy SAP and MES to existing sites within the portfolio, but any new acquired site that is added to the group. Hey, Jeff, welcome. Can you provide a summary of your background and your current role?
Sure. Hi, all. Also happy to be here. Been with Hubbell for 32 years. The first 24 years was the IT manager for connector manufacturing in Cincinnati, Ohio. After the Hubbell acquisition and transition to their SAP environment in 2017, I joined the SAP implementation and support team. And as Neil stated a few years ago, based on my background from a production floor standpoint, was identified as the initial lead for ShopVue implementations.
Yeah, you're doing a solid job. You're doing a solid job.
Thank you.
All right. So the data mandate, while real-time data is non-negotiable. So the core problem that a lot of manufacturers have today is they're not short of data. In fact, they're drowning in data, but much of it can be unstructured, right? And I think, Craig, you're going to share some impactful market stats that came out of your research that highlights drivers and motivations to explain why this real-time data is non-negotiable, right, within manufacturing, to ensure everyone's remaining competitive and they're using their assets, utilizing their assets to their best potential. So you want to walk us through this slide here?
Absolutely. So this is from some upcoming an upcoming report on enterprise data analytics. We looked at a lot of different industries in a lot of different countries, and a lot of different company sizes. But what we did was a maturity analysis. We asked a certain number of questions and then tied those to business outcomes and KPIs to see how companies who are using certain strategies to reach certain outcomes and reach certain results. So one thing that really stuck out is that the investment in data and analytics strategy, data and analytics technology is leading to very significant KPI improvement as companies are progressing through these maturity levels. Now we have three of them: data beginners, data adopters, data leaders, with data adopters being the largest group, of course, and then smaller groups on the side. But the data adopters, we're seeing on the initial investment in process and technology, they are seeing results on some of their major KPIs, such as productivity, accuracy of forecasts, time to decision making, data quality, data satisfaction from your consumers, their performance on all their things, and then as they continue to mature, they're still seeing growth on those KPIs. So that investment is having returns on the things that they care about most.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And we'll come back and we'll touch back on this a little bit further later on in the conversation.
Great. And to kind of set the stage here, get back to the manufacturing side. Machine data is often a foundational element, with other sources of good quality data used to track, run, and then eventually improve the performance of manufacturing sites. And that comes from humans, and that comes from shop floor workers. But Neil, as I understand it, this metric, this 79%, came from a survey that the Parsable team conducted with some customers a few years ago, and it highlights how some of these management teams still haven't taken the steps to digitally empower their team. This is still paper based.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, Jeff's going to talk about machine connected data, and that's a big strategy for Hubbell. But there's a lot that goes on in most manufacturing. Most manufacturing is not lights out. Most manufacturing still engages humans. And yeah, we felt that 79% of factory workers, granted, it's a couple of years ago, that rely on paper-based documentation and checklists to track work and communicate to their team. So in many cases, the feedback was the management was hesitant to move away from paper-based, standardized SOPs, right, standard operating procedures, to digital work instructions. And the reason for this was explained that they were concerned that technology, right, in general, will create more work for employees, will be difficult for them to use, right? Because at the end of the day, they want people making product, right, putting assemblies together, doing changeovers, what have you. However, the research from many people, including our team, suggests that frontline factory workers are now ready to embrace technology in their day-to-day operations. We're all using these things, right? Pretty much every waking hour of our day-to-day life.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, as a company or as workers are ready to make their jobs maybe a little easier. And Neil, can you explain how your customers view their data maturity as a journey, and as I kind of discuss it as well, and how they are able to turn some of this structured data, maybe paper-based data, into a digital version and a decision-making engine that they need to sort of keep their operations running.
Sure, absolutely. So this slide it's got a lot going on, but take it from left to right, right? And the kind of foundational first stage goal, objective is about having visibility into the current status, and using that data to check off low-hanging fruit, getting some quick wins, right? So putting a structured solution in place, whether it's MES or connected worker, is going to allow you to optimize that labor performance, but at the same time, start collecting data to focus the priorities of operational improvement, right?
Right. So you have these disconnected machines. There's paper travelers, paper data, and but you don't get to really leverage that data in real time. You're collecting it, you're key punching some of it into your ERP, but it's really lagging and it's honor-based reporting. You know, it's not necessarily verified, and that doesn't really provide anything in any sort of visibility in a real-time state, right?
Right. So I love it. I love touring my customers and my prospects' factory floors, right? And I love it when I walk out on the shop floor and they have a digital performance board, or sometimes called a driving performance board, right? It's got snapshots, it's got current machine status, it's got OEE performance. And then a couple of clicks, you can start to drill into Pareto analysis of, downtime reason codes and quality scrap reason codes. Also, a lot of people fully integrate like their 5S, safety metrics, and visibility into maintenance, right? And an extension of downtime, really, right? And understanding what the maintenance team needs to be doing to work with those assets, whether they are, machines, automation, or whether they're humans. The next logical step in this kind of maturity curve, right, is to get to stage 2, and that's where you turn that information from, just data and usefulness, but turn it into knowledge, fully understanding why an adverse activity is happening, right? So with this accurate data from machines, remember we talked about machines, IoT, and operators through digitizing of traditionally paper workflows. You'll use analytics, you'll use BI to focus on processes and workflows that essentially the ultimate goal is to like improve your yield, right? Because you've got your finger on the pulse, you're monitoring production, you're monitoring quality, you're monitoring process controls. And then you can leverage that why data to really drive your lean teams, right, through Kaizen events and A3s or Six Sigma or whatever methodology you as an organization are using, to discover those patterns and actually turn that information into knowledge. So that's stage 2. Stage 3 starts to get a bit more advanced. You're now trying to get a bit more predictive, right? To try and understand what will happen. Essentially, the goal here is, your master planners, your plan management, your leadership. That you're comfortable starting your shift, starting your week. Your planning's accurate, and your business model to support that plan is accurate. And some of that comes from maybe some light AI engines, some advanced planning and scheduling tools, right, Craig? So some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier on. And that, I think, is where a lot of manufacturing will finish. You've got humans involved. Stage 4 is really like lights out, and we have customers running our technology, running our solutions in this environment. And I guess it's Nirvana stage, but it's not right for everybody. That's where you have, autonomous actions, self-optimizing, healing systems, right? It's coming, right? These tools are coming. But realistically, most manufacturers will probably see themselves down at stage 1 today. So if they can get to stage 2, stage 3, then they are, really getting additional value out of their investments and improving their business model. The boxes at the bottom, exploratory, predictive, and causal, are kind of like industry standard catch-alls around data, right? And how you analyze it. I certainly don't want to go into any definitions, but I think it fits quite nicely with this model. So now let's bring in Jeff, who's been patiently waiting at the top of the screen here, from Hubbell into the conversation, and we'll discuss their perspective on data value. And we're going to explore different personas and value that those personas get from consuming accurate and real-time shop floor data. Right, Jeff?
Absolutely, Neil. The term digital transformation is everywhere, but for manufacturers, it often boils down to one thing, and that's data. the right data at the right time in the right hands.
Sure. And we're not just going to talk strategy today, are we? We want to give some almost like a blueprint to help others on this webinar focus their operational data and align it with their kind of executive outcomes. So we're going to focus on a concept in a minute that's like the dashboard ecosystem, right? We talked about personas, different dashboards, different point of views.
Correct. In too many companies, the operator data doesn't speak to the executive data,
right?
Often creating a dangerous blind spots, if you will. We're going to walk you through how to eliminate those starting right on the shop floor.
Everything starts on the shop floor, right? Everything starts with the operators, with the machines. So it's probably worth taking a step back and looking at typical manufacturing plants, and that's what this graphic is trying to be a bit of a catch-all. And maybe this is where Hubbell was before you started your SAP deployment and your MES journey.
Indeed, in many of our plants, operators were regularly leaving their workstations, and there was a lot of uncontrolled paperwork, including drawings and inspection plans. The process, pre-digitization, if you will, included legacy tools that started with paper and information keyed directly into a single workstation that could have a long line at the end of the day.
Yeah, and people just queuing up to enter their data versus, I guess, heading home or working their machines. Yeah, so it is human nature, right, that every employee wants to meet plan, right? They want to hit their goals every shift, every day, every month. But it's hard to manage to that if the key performance indicators, the KPIs, are lacking definition and the data is sat in different silos, right, from different systems. And potentially in that case, it's hard to kind of reconcile that data and actually make use of it.
Yes, we have always known that the data was important. We've always known the data was important to make informed decisions. For example, labor efficiency by asset and part efficiency, leading to targeted time studies, leading to justification for new equipment purchases and other strategic initiatives. Most of the data quality that we had was questionable, often with conflicting information.
Yeah, so you want to use that data to make good decision making around what to spend on capital equipment, right? What to focus on for process improvements, factory layouts, things like that. So what was the biggest key driver then when you kicked off the MES project?
MES became a strategic priority based on options such as machine connectivity, identifying downtime events, and quality events driving OEE performance.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure everyone on this call understands the abbreviation, the acronym OEE is overall equipment effectiveness, right? And it's a calculation of productivity to standards, quality and availability all kind of multiplied together. So this dashboard is the persona view, right? The dashboard ecosystem that we talked about earlier. So we're talking about aligning data, right? So if the CEO, COO, right, whatever, the top of the tree can't see the financial impact on a machine that went down on the shop floor, you don't have a foundation. You've got silos, right? This data all needs to roll up. We see a lot of great fancy dashboards, but sometimes they exist in isolation, right? Sometimes they're useful, but only for a particular audience, and that data is not used elsewhere. So a true foundation, a true data model ensures that the operator dashboard, real-time data rolls up, the maintenance dashboard, predictive health alerts, and everything rolls up. This data isn't just for fixing problems on the floor, it's also for informing executive strategy and running the business.
That's right, Neil. The value starts with action. The line supervisor dashboard uses that machine data to drive efficiency, and the plant engineer dashboard uses it for long-term optimization. This is the heartbeat of the operation. Mm-hmm. The critical data then becomes the input for strategic decision-making. The finance dashboard needs that labor efficiency data to analyze production cost. The customer service dashboard tracks that production output against fulfillment targets. Every piece of operational data must feed a strategic outcome.
Yeah, and this is where the executive suite kind of steps in, right? The plant management dashboard sees the aggregate picture. It feeds the COO dashboard, which compares operational efficiency across all of the plants, right? And in Hubbell's case, 80-odd plants, right? And ultimately, the CEO dashboard relies on that data integrity, right? So the CEO needs the overall business health. The CTO needs to ensure that digital infrastructure footprint supports it. Digital transformation is successful when data flows well, right? And it's meeting those needs. It's about building that single ecosystem where data moves from, again, the shop floor, the operator, to the decision point, right? Regardless of where that is, plant manager, finance, or CEO. And every role has their specific views, but they're all singing from the same song sheet, right, of data.
And seamless flow is the difference between simply having data and having a true competitive advantage.
Yeah, you got to make it work for you, right? Make it work for you. We're going to roll into some specific examples, right? Get a little bit nerdy around KPIs and strategic outcomes from those KPIs. So, Jeff, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So we all know the importance of OEE, but OEE is ultimately just a calculation built from fundamentals. Let's get a little more granular and look at the most important user in the entire system, the operator. Their data has to be real-time, simple, and action-oriented. We focus on 4 core metrics for the operator dashboard, including machine status. Is it running? Is it idle? Is it faulted? Production count, cycle time, and instant quality checks. These are the data points that drive immediate minute-by-minute decisions. When the operator sees a cycle time slowing down, they don't wait for a report, they investigate now, and that brings us to the core results these metrics deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Real-time metrics. They bridge the gap between effort, right, and outcome. So the instant results are powerful and translate directly into targets. By producing visibility into like production counts and cycle times compared to standards, you may realize that your standards are wrong, right? You may realize that you've been forecasting and doing financials off wrong data. So at a bare minimum, you make it right. So the outcome, though, from that, if you're working with accurate standards and real-time and accurate cycle times, then you're going to achieve the first result on this list, which is alignment to your production plan, right? The operator instantly knows if they're on target, and there's some examples here on the right-hand side. They'll know whether they're ahead or behind. And as you said earlier, Jeff, there's no more waiting till the end of the shift to get a report, right, from your supervisor. See it in real time, understand whether you need help, right? You need coaching, you need some help with the machine, but actually focus on improving at that point in time.
Exactly. And we can leverage these metrics for powerful employee engagement through gamification. When the operator can see their own cycle time improving or their quality check rate remaining perfect, they are more invested at this point in time. Data becomes a motivator, not just a measurement tool. And finally, the most critical result is the ability to drive immediate support. For example, when the machine status changes or a maintenance alert pops up, the dashboard facilitates digital and-ons and support feedback. The operator presses a button, the problem is logged, and with context and the right team, maintenance or line supervisor is automatically notified.
Yeah, this is the true power of that data foundation at the operator level, right? It turns that single kind of data point, an event, and daisy chains outcomes from it, right? You get 3 business results. You meet the plan, you engage the workforce, and you actually track the performance of your support team, right? If a machine goes down and it calls for maintenance and it calls for support with the right tools in place, you know the reaction time, you know how long it takes to get that machine up and running again. And at the end of the day, everyone that's working in a manufacturing facility that's not on the shop floor making product is in a supporting role, right? And everyone's goal is to support the team to make products on time and satisfy the customers with on-time delivery. Okay, so we've seen how the operator acts on immediate data. Now let's move to the line supervisor, right? So this role is responsible for the performance of the entire cell or line, maybe the department, and they can't manage their sphere of management by just watching one machine, right? They need aggregated, intelligent data. So their dashboard's a little bit different. It's the command center, as it were, right? It's built on 4 quality metrics, which are all related to the operator metrics, but slightly different point of view. You're looking at line OEE, you're looking at production throughput, you're looking at detailed downtime causes and frequency of those events, and a roll-up and a summarization of quality metrics.
Absolutely. And these metrics deliver the first crucial benefit, real-time visibility, as the supervisor needs to see how the line is performing right now against historical trends and targets. This is OEE, a combination of every operator's performance into a single high-value score. For example, by tracking production throughput, detailed downtime, causes and frequency, as well as scrap counts, the supervisor gains immediate insight into where the constraint is at that point. Is it a specific machine? Is it a consistent material delay? This data moves them from managing symptoms to diagnosing the root causes.
Right, and supporting the team that's making money for the business, right? And this real-time visibility leads directly to our next result, and that's the ability to address bottlenecks, right? We have got dashboards across our products that are real-time status. We've got heat map dashboards that can show where bottlenecks are occurring. And what does a bottleneck mean to manufacturing? It means lost revenue, it means lost capacity, and delayed orders, right? And annoyed customers. So by seeing which machine has the lowest utilization or the highest downtime frequency, or making sure you clearly know which of your machines is the bottleneck operation, the supervisor can reallocate resources. You can push for a quick fix. You can call an engineer. They're using that data to save money and to protect the production plan at that moment in time.
Consider the most transformational benefit at this point for the supervisor is the ability to coach with data. They can now go to an operator, not with a subjective observation, but with an objective data point like your cycle time on machine 3 has been 10% higher than the standard over the last hour. This shifts the conversation from fault finding to fact finding. It turns the supervisor into a powerful data-backed mentor, driving continuous improvement, not just in the process, but in the people, which is the ultimate benefit of this foundational layer.
Yeah, and as we know, Jeff, you want your supervisors not combing through reports, right? You don't want them living in spreadsheets. You want them out on the floor coaching, right? Coaching their team, making sure they have everything that they need to be successful, not sat behind a terminal and staring at data.
Yeah, so now that we've covered the immediate actions from an operator and line management supervisor, now the plant industrial engineer looks beyond the shift. Their focus is on the structural process optimization, which requires deep analysis, not just real-time status. Their dashboard relies on trending data from the entire data foundation, long-term OEE trends, granular downtime root cause analysis, and crucial resource metrics such as detailed material usage rates and scrap percentage. By combining material usage rates with scrap percentage, the engineer can then link specific raw material batches or machine settings to a spike in defects. Okay. This analysis helps to enhance quality, not just through inspection, but by optimizing the process itself to eliminate defects at the source. They're also looking at the relationship between machine utilization and potential fatigue, helping to ensure safety and compliance. Data on a prolonged cycle times or specific machine stress can flag operational changes needed to keep the workforce safe and compliant with standards.
So this is the same data, right? That's coming from the machine, from the operator. It's just being viewed, visualized, and managed in a different way. And the industrial engineer, manufacturing engineer, process engineer, right? All have different titles. But they work directly to drive financial performance, right? They're looking for those improvements across the plan. They optimize processes to the new gold standard. They're focusing on, remember the slide earlier, we had the hidden factory, right? They're looking to reduce scrap, waste, and that all goes into a lower cost of goods sold, right? And maximizing your profit margins, which is massive financial benefit up the chain of the COO, CEO. So the engineer in general can really transform that operation data into repeatable competitive advantage. It's a term that we mentioned earlier, but it's 100% right. So Craig, you and I are going to talk a little bit about roadblocks and reality when you start to engage in a digital transformation project. But Jeff, thank you for walking us through that.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. That is a great example. We talk about how companies mature through their data capabilities. That's an example of how a company becomes a digital leader, building that foundation. But as we know, some of that is not always easy, and I'm sure Jeff is very aware of that. And so there are some challenges that come up with that. And next, I want to look at again some of my research to look at what are the biggest challenges that companies are facing as they move up their maturity scale, as they mature their data and analytics capabilities. And so that
the next slide.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. So if you look right here, you'll see that as companies are on that data leader track, change management and user adoption becomes very important. It becomes a big challenge because they are implementing new processes, they're implementing new technologies, so they really need to focus on getting their people in line with using these technologies and processes and using them correctly to optimize the value they're getting and building that competitive advantage that you've mentioned multiple times, Neil. But of course, on the other end, when companies are starting their data journeys, and Jeff mentioned this, when Hubbell was early on their data journey, they had to fight with poor data quality and availability. So they haven't built that foundation yet, and that's why Hubbell went through that journey of building that foundation to get that quality data to actually provide good analysis. And then of course companies deal with lack of skills and talent as they're starting their journeys. When you don't have the cool systems in place, when you don't have the cool processes in place, it's hard to attract the best data talent. And so it's important to build that foundation so people are excited to come and analyze your data and feel like they can actually make a difference. And then finally, just to kind of allude to what we're going to talk about next, is siloed data. It doesn't matter what maturity level you're at. You're always going to be dealing with connecting your disparate systems, and you always have to be aware of that. If you add a new system, you got to connect that system, and there's going to be silos. There's going to be, and that's just going to be a steady challenge as companies mature. And Neil, I know we're going to talk about that a little more.
Yeah. So my advice is, when you're evaluating technical, software partners, is be really nervous if someone says, we don't have a solid suite of APIs. We don't make data available to you, right? You don't want a walled garden, right, around your systems. So yeah, Craig, this is the data silo trap, and I can talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Companies, as you build your systems and you build it out, you end up in this data silo trap. You want that data, but they're in different areas and they cannot be connected. You need to connect them to have the best analysis, produce the best results, produce those competitive advantages.
So this graphic it's high level, right? It's a simplistic version, but it's a good example of a typical connected environment. So the ERP, I know we're in the SAP Insider environment, so let's just use the term SAP. Usually it's going to sit on top. It's managing your master data. It's planning, it's scheduling, it's doing MRB, it's, you know, running your finances. Many factories are also going to have a SCADA system already in place. Maybe you've got HMI layer on top of that to help run the machines. Hopefully that data is all tied in with an OPC UA server already to collect that data. If it's not, that's a fairly simple retrofit to do. You've got test stands, you've got machine PLCs maybe running those test stands, or you've got software APIs. Make that data available. If you want as-built data, if you want a build card that you're collecting in your MES, make all that data available. Make it flow. Make it easy for the rest of your business to manage their data collection and sharing of data with their supply chain and with their customers. Leveraging APIs, right? It's all about data flows that support business logic.
Right, and that feedback loop is essential. That data flowing back and forth, that connected tissue. It's very, very necessary in industrial settings. You need to know what's going on. It presents that what I like to call that muddy middle, which are challenges and complexities that come about when when you're the communication and operational dynamics, those that are between systems and employees, so that can be muddied up. But that's why this feedback loop is essential, and as you said, the APIs connecting these systems is key.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can say this one, Craig, actually. So labor shortages and skills gap is often another roadblock to moving forward. And we all think about retiring workers and the expectation of the next generation. But like we said earlier, they're going to demand digital tools. And solid examples of these digital tools can be an MES, can be a connected worker. And it's all about onboarding. It's all about ensuring they remain certified to do their job. And some of these metrics here are real metrics from case studies from our customers that have delivered, you know, improvements in throughput, reductions in downtime. So it's a double win, right? You engage your workforce and you do things better, and the whole team can get on board and be ready to move that needle forward. So I'm now going to walk you through really quickly through a couple of examples of connected solutions. First, we'll talk about ShopVue. What you see on the screen here are the building blocks of ShopVue. Our customers adopt ShopVue in 3 areas. The first is labor management. Represented on the left-hand side, you can manage your shop activity, your production performance, and start to streamline those workflows for the operators, supervisors, and, you know, sometimes all the way through to payroll. As you move to the right and you migrate up that maturity curve, you're going to get into more digital factory, paperless, dematerialization, right? You don't need to turn this flag overnight, but you can get rid of your paper traveler. Maybe you just got a barcode sheet of paper, or, you know, a QR code that's going around with your products. The results of that, you're going to get full genealogy, traceability. You're going to be compliant in your whatever industry you're regulated by. You're delivering your work instructions, whether it's for complex changeovers, for FAI, right, first article inspections, and then on the right there is everything we talked about. We've got a full suite of APIs, right? Whether you're looking to integrate with beyond ERP, but maybe you've got a PLM, maybe you've got a quality management system, maybe you've got a maintenance management system, right? All of those work. Maybe you've got an HRIS system that's managing certifications for your employees. Pick a partner that you're going to work with that can make that data work for you.
Right, and I'm kind of looking at how this is flowing. If one of your customers just they really wanted to go paperless and that was their first priority, can they just skip those first two, does
Yeah,
that work?
yeah, kind of. They can skip over the labor management element of it, but you always want to connect to the host, to SAP. You always want to connect to your ERP. You want to download the orders, routings, standards, bill of materials, and execute on that. So that would be module number one, half of number one in there. But then sure, yeah, from there you can lay on the paperless. You don't need to do full labor management solution. This next slide is an example of a unified manufacturing OS, right? In this case, we've got Possible, our connected worker product. There's driving frontline execution, right? And it's slightly different in the process industry, right? Maybe you're working on digital instructions. Maybe you've got quality checks on this machinery and equipment. Maybe you're dealing with real-time resolution. This example, they're making beer, right? Across brewing, packaging, robotics, right? Inspection. We've got IoT solutions that feeding real-time data into a SCADA and IoT system. We're driving triggers like we talked about earlier in some of those dashboards, predictive maintenance, and getting that performance analysis.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of everything we're looking at here, human work, machine operations, and IoT data, that in this scenario, that's all flowing into kind of a single integrated view, and that's where that real-time decision making comes from.
Sure, no, absolutely. You can see on the bottom right-hand corner, you've got the control room, and people looking up at the analytics dashboards. That's the dashboard persona of the kind of plant management team, right? Everything's rolling up, but the people out there running the machines, they're all looking at the same data sources, but a slightly different point of view.
Hey, I'm familiar with that brand for sure.
You familiar with this brand? Okay.
Oh yeah.
So Possible is deployed in over 120 breweries. Heineken's running like 40 different use cases. They've got 10,000 users, and they're executing millions of jobs, right? You can read a few highlights here, but my favorite quote from the Heineken team is that if Possible goes down, we stop brewing beer. And nobody wants that, right?
Yeah, God forbid.
So you can safely say that CAI Possible is mission critical to Heineken. Just to carry on with the concept of the theme of Possible, it's often deployed really quickly to solve maybe one of these documented workflows, right? Safety is often a great place to start, right? 5S, PPE checklists, but maintenance is a close second, right? Whether it's standard PM rounds, right, on brewing equipment, or reactive maintenance when your IoT systems, your MES systems report a machine down, right? In a high value, that's also a really high value use case. This is like a little light demo. You see a little bit more detail, but I guarantee that everyone on this webinar, watching this webinar, has got a digital locker full of standard operating procedures, right? We have an AI engine that can ingest those PDFs, Excels, whatever, and turn them into a JSON format that can be imported into Possible's authoring tool, where you there can, from there you can revision control, manage, distribute, right, from within the Possible platform. You can release them, you can put them in the hands of your frontline workers. They know they've got the right revision in front of them. There's no picking up paper folder or something from the shop floor that's out of date, not accurate, right? So you've got the latest and greatest to enhance execution of whatever activity you're doing. And stay with the data theme, right? You're doing that execution, you're going to have that good quality data at your fingertips, right? We've got a robust BI layer, data analytics, remember the stage 2 in that data journey, and a kind of understanding of why an adverse activity is happening. Make sure the tool that you partner with gives you that to ensure your highly paid, highly skilled team members can actually drive those continuous improvement and execute on what they need to execute. So we're at about time check. We're about 45 minutes. I think we've got a couple of next step slides, right. And then we'll get to Q&A. Craig, I think this next slide is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to reiterate one more time for my data. This is, of course, from SAP Insider members. The data and analytics maturity, when we link it with our correlation analysis, it is leading to results. So data leaders, as you can see on this chart, they're getting improved forecasting accuracy, faster, more confident decision making, as we were talking about with all these examples throughout this webinar. Improved data governance and quality, as Jeff talked about, enhancing their experiences. That's even something that happens early. With early adoption, you start building those experiences, and then of course establishing foundation for adopting more innovative technologies as you're moving along. Yeah. So that foundation we talked about, it leads to these sort of outcomes, and so it's very important to establish that foundation. There will be results from it.
I'll let you. When is this research paper available, Craig?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So this is getting published at the end of the month. So the last day of the month, we'll publish this. I believe we can send out a link to at that time everyone who attended, so they can have a chance to read through the whole paper. There's a lot more beyond these 3 slides, but yeah, very excited to share this with everyone in the coming weeks.
Okay. I have one more slide just to wrap up, and it stays with that theme of business benefits, right? And kind of ROI, return on investment, right? So once you're ready to take the next step, select a partner, manage your deployment in phases. Don't feel like you need to eat the whole enchilada, right? As people say. Look for those high value business processes that are going to get you to the fastest time to get some return on investment. It's often going to involve focusing on error proofing, right? Doing things right first time. But start with data too, right? Collecting good quality data to identify those losses, right? In the hidden factory that we talked about: scrap, time, availability of the assets, all the 3 legs of the stool of OEE. Identify those losses, work on fixing them. Your OEE is going to go up. It's going to improve. And then make sure you eliminate those silos. Again, just remember, don't build a walled garden. Integrate your IT systems. Establish governance around the program. And if, like Hubbell, if you're managing multi-sites, build out a program that's going to drive some site conformity, right? Use your tools, use SAP, use your selected MES, hopefully ShopVue, right? Use that to drive consistency across your business. And use this data, right, for lean methodologies, right? Use this information to identify waste and improve on them, and maybe even eliminate them. Okay, so thank you, everybody. That was a good conversation. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Craig. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Let me see. Let me look. I haven't seen these submitted quite yet, but of course
I can. No, I do. I see.
Okay.
I see a question.
Oh, there we go.
It's for Jeff. So Jeff, Hubbell's a larger enterprise, as we said, right? You've got 80 something sites. How do you organize a team to actually define that dashboard ecosystem?
So we started with our organizational continuous improvement teams as they are most familiar with the sites and their overall processes to identify the data and dashboards based on the different roles within the organization.
Okay, so it's continuous improvement team driven. Who else is involved? Operations, IT?
Operations, IT, it's plant, the overall plant management team, down to the operators in some cases too.
Okay. There's one more question that's just popped up for you again, Jeff. Sorry. What tips do you have? Craig, I think, talked about change management as one of the harder kind of roadblocks, right, to moving forward. What tips have you got with respect to change management when you're deploying specific shop floor technology, right?
Yeah, from the beginning, communication is key, not only to upper management, but within every level of the organization, again, down to and including the shop floor employees. We found that it's extremely important to include every level within the organization as you define, configure, test, and deploy, and then ultimately perform health checks of the application, post go live.
Okay, so don't do a one and done. Check in, make sure what you've implemented is delivering value, and tweak it, make changes as needed, right? It's an ongoing process.
100%.
Yeah, digital transformation is that journey. Okay, well, I think that wraps up the session. Again, thank you both very much. Appreciate your time.
Of course.
Jeff Elam from Hubbell and Craig Powers from the SAP Insider team, and we look forward to future engagements.
Yeah, same as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.